Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon. My name is Amanda. I'm a director with IYC, and this is our panel, Prosperity and Planet. Please welcome my panelists.
Hi, I'm Samana Ravikumar. I have been working with the United Nations with the Funded Mission of India for almost 1.5 years now. We've been working on projects of mission peacekeeping and also with the UN Employment Program. Along with that, I recently graduated from NYU and I'm recently working as a PhD business analyst at the Florida Hydroponics Center.
Hi, I'm Aditya Krishna Kubiya, and I'm currently a PhD research scholar working on forest ecology in the Indian Himalayas, and I'm basically focusing my research on the forest fires impacts it has on vegetation, on soil, and on the local communities. And I'm also a member of the International Forestry Students Association, which is a youth organization of the forestry students worldwide. So our mission is to create a world that appreciates forests.
Hello everyone, my name is Srini Bhattana. I'm currently a junior in high school, so I'm in Monroe Township High School in Monroe Township, New Jersey. I'm the founder of a non-profit organization called the Second Academy. I won't spoil all the details now, but let's see some of the questions. So it's basically a non-profit organization that's dedicated to actually spreading awareness on the importance of recycling while providing people with the opportunity to recycle their used plastic products. Because bad recycling, bad pollution is such a huge issue. Only about 1% of people around the world know about recycling used plastic products. And that sparked led into starting Recycling Our Plastic with the hopes of creating an impact. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you guys for joining me today. So we'll start with the question. Can you share an example of your work that demonstrates how environmental action can also be a driver of economic growth? And we can start with you.
Sure. Starting off with one opportunity that I had that I worked on as a cause was replacing one-time use plastic containers and cups with something that is biodegradable. Right? For example, in a day, every single person in New York alone drinks around 3 cups of coffee. That's 3 cups along with the considerers and the cap, along with sachets of sugar. Right? A person alone is producing trash of 2.6 kgs within a month. So that kind of triggered me. And that's when we started working on biodegradable solutions. As a partnership with one of the professors in India, I had a chance to work on creating biodegradable cups, one-time plastic use, having it to be replaced with materials like coconut, tea leaves that are dried, but still act as a very good source for raw material in terms of producing these kind of cutleries. And now we see cutlery is a huge market out there, and replacing this very biodegradable cutlery from the agricultural waste along with the forest waste has been something that I really, really passionate about and something that I've worked on. We talked about the economy and green economy impact that we have created. We have partnered with more than 12 plus restaurant chains along with hospitality chains over the last 3 years, and I'm proud to say that we have reduced the carbon footprint of around 3.2 million tons.
I don't know if I can ask that. So, I focus on what I've observed during my study in Himalayas. These examples from what I learned from the local communities over there. So the forest fires in Himalayas, like in India, it's very different from what we see here. Like you do not have a dry and moist area and with lots of rainfall. But still the forest fires are very frequent over there. But mostly it's about the vegetation. That's my observation so far. Like it's dominated the area I'm working on. It's not dominated the forest rocks by guys. So that's the pine tree. That's just what like the right top and side has high grading content. And then even a small trigger can cause a huge scale wildfire. So There will be people who have restrictions to like making use of those fine needles or making some handcrafts out of the pine needles, and there's a research going on in that area. I mean, it's in the initial stages, but they're using pine needles to make biobriquettes, so which can be used for heating and also for cooking. So it can be a very sustainable use of the needles that are pine.
That's very nice response. So mine has to do more with the circular economy. So basically, like I mentioned before to you guys, we set on a value non-profit organization that's dedicated to educating the public and providing them with the opportunity to recycle and use batteries. So basically, what we do is we place the value beans in many different locations, collect value, and then we recycle them properly. So far, we have been able to educate 50 million people for the process and recycle the missing 27,000 batteries. Now it's the value of the economic process. So batteries can be really complex, including lithium, mercury, examine. They also have aluminum and classification as well. If those batteries away, we're causing environmental impact, but we're also wasting lots of money. Instead of mining and instead of spending lots of money on the production of batteries, I just think that's a lot of money to produce. We can just repurpose these materials that recycle, promote the circular economy, basically repurpose these materials, use them again, use them at least another, and this in turn can boost our green economy. That's one thing that I'm fighting for, and I hope that eventually circular economy can become a big thing, and we can actually repurpose these mining materials to ensure that it becomes from a non-renewable to much more renewable energy. So that's what I'm fighting for right now. Obviously, like boost our economy.
That's amazing. All of the projects sound very, very interesting, like they're really making an impact. So thank you. What are the biggest barriers to really the growth of the economy, particularly for young entrepreneurs?
Yes. Yeah, sure. So basically, like, question basically you asked is like, skills, right? The barriers.
Yeah, what is getting in the way?
Yeah. So through my journey with recycling my life, I noticed that like are barriers to young entrepreneurs. Number one that I noticed is like skills. They lack the entrepreneurial mindset. You have no idea how many people came to me throughout my journey with recycling my value and said, "Hey Nihal, I saw what you're doing and I'm very, very inspired. I have this problem. I want to do this and I want to do the solution. But I don't have the mindset. I don't know how to start an initiative and I don't know how to expand it." That's one big problem that needs to be addressed because we need more startups and we need more organizations in order to promote the green economy and to basically accelerate the transformation to a green economy. That's one thing. And I believe that one solution to that problem can basically be entrepreneurship classes in schools. Like basically there should be classes where like teachers teach entrepreneurs and teach change makers how they can start their own initiatives, how they can turn their problems into visions and solutions, and how they can make it a reality. Because we need more change makers out there in order to actually transform our world into a green economy. And another thing that I noticed is basically some students, right? Some students, after seeing news and after seeing something that's occur on the news about an environmental problem, they don't really take action. So pretend you guys are like, just pretend you guys are an ordinary child watching the news and you see explosion occur. Would you guys do something? Like, would you guys like create an organization to actually help solve that? Exactly, that's another problem. Some people like they don't act. They just see it, they're like, oh, that's a big problem, and they don't act. That's another problem too. And we need to empower and motivate them to actually become those change makers because we need more of them to make the earth a better place and to accelerate our growth to a future like a green economy.
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely it's the access and the mentorship that we're missing. A lot of people in youth, they want to get involved, they want to do something, but they don't know where to start, or they might know where to start, but they don't know how to utilize the tools, or they need access to those tools. So definitely providing them that space and that opportunity to learn and encouraging them once they get to the next step. Let's keep moving forward. I'm going to assist you until you get to exactly where you want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to echo on what you said, for the young people in the mountainous region of India, what I found the major barriers could be, there can be two barriers. First one is awareness, and the other being financial constraints. So the young people over there, they are not aware of the opportunities that the forest and the nature can offer to them. So out migration is a very big problem in Uttarakhand in India. So there are around 1,000 coast villages which have been totally abandoned. So people are moving to the bigger cities, they do not realize the potential that nature has to offer. So awareness and education can be one as barrier, and the other being obviously the financial constraints, and also, as you mentioned, the lack of entrepreneurial skills. They do not have that.
I just have a follow-up question. For those communities, what is the best way to access those communities and provide them that education in those like rural areas?
People are not aware that, like, you might be aware that in India, mainstream education includes like studying mathematics or going into engineering or something like that. They're going into the mainstream subjects. They do not see farming, like the agriculture, the farmers. They're also locating to other regions. Like the land has so much potential in the Himalayas. For like, there have been so many for NTFPs, for medicinal plants, the medicines that are grown over there. They like, big multinational companies. They derive those from the Himalayas specifically for the elevation and everything. So, and it was.
Yeah, and maybe even to making it look more appealing and more exciting to get involved in the environment.
Adding on to all the points, especially with youth, what I feel the drawback is the perspective of how they will be looked at, right? We are taught at home that, being an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer is something only that gives you value and a face value in the world. But, working for a cause, working for what you're passionate about, like how you started, and a PhD that she has taken up in such a niche field, right? So, working for passion is something that has to be promoted, is what I feel. And starting small, communities is the biggest strength that we have. Like the one that we are in this platform right now, any small community starting good, starting small, starting local, can take things a long way. And today I see a lot of not young entrepreneurs, but then, people who have seen life, who have finished all their corporate careers, are now switching into creating organic products, sharing all the grandma related stories and health tips that they knew to the world, and they are becoming, the another phase of young entrepreneurs at their age. So why wait till then? Why not start now? Yeah, that awareness is something like you all mentioned I feel is lacking, but then communities starting as a small locally will take us places.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys. What does a just transition mean to you? And how do we ensure that marginalized communities benefit from the shift to a green economy?
If I could start talking about the modern economy and the modern community. If you see the Hudson Yards today, it's one of the LEED certified buildings, and that whole area in New York is particularly designed and planned for sustainability, as in the circular economy that we're talking about. So the water is recycled, and they have plants for water irrigation and storing from the rains. And also they do have a system set up in order to clear out the trash, recycle it, separate and segregate it day-to-day basis. It's not happening at the end point, but then it's happening right at the beginning of where it is produced. Right? So some examples like these, especially in New York, could also be taken to smaller places. And it's easy to implement in cities that are growing and in the villages that are looking for a change, rather than going to the places that is already developed and there is a hesitation in order to make a change. That's something I want to feel.
Yeah, I think that makes a great point. Like, if people see how these small communities are making such a big difference, actually making that impact, you see that improvement. Each different community actually starts doing that. That's going to be what's popular. And you start small, and then each one they'll take over. Yeah.
So I would like to add on to that, like for the just transition, I mean the people who rely most on could benefit most from this, they should be involved in the decision-making processes because they are the ones who are going to be impacted most by it and also benefited from it. So that's what we should focus on for sure.
Yeah, nice responses once again. Yeah, it was really nice. So to me, a just transition basically means a smooth and basically like a equal and fair way from transitioning from fossil fuel industry to the green industry. That's what just transition means to me. At Recyclable Battery, we believe in access. We believe that everyone should have the opportunity, regardless of background, regardless of anything. They should have the access to recycle or use batteries properly. It's a standard. We have to recycle them in order to make the earth a better place and to promote the circular economy. Now let's shift to like the marginalized people. So basically, like if you talk about Africa, for example, Africa, we know there's many nations that are underprivileged and they're facing lots of hardships from issues like this. But however, they have an abundance of sunlight because Africa encompasses the equator and they have access to sunlight as a result. So basically, if governments can subsidize in solar panel production and actually support that, if we like take direct like action in these underprivileged countries and work with them to get them more up to date in terms of the climate change related solutions, then I believe that we can go a long way and make a huge impact. That's what I believe, and I believe that starting in underprivileged countries, providing subsidies to these production can actually help them get also get online with these climate-related solutions, so that we can actually energize the growth and make the earth a better place. That's what I was thinking in terms of benefiting the marginalized people, because I believe that everyone should have the opportunity to actually adopt these changes and benefit, because it has to positively benefit everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I think like the common idea for just transition is access.
Yeah.
We need access. That's the biggest thing in order to get a just transition.
Exactly.
Yeah. What skills and education will young people need to thrive in green economy of the future? I know we were talking about how we need to, provide this information to the smaller communities, but let's dive a little bit deeper into that. What can we really do for the people who are listening? What should they be doing if they have the means?
So for me in particular, skills is a secondary concept, as in if we know what we need to do, as in if the passion is clear, the path and the why is clear, then the skills can be picked up along the way. And especially with the green economy and sustainability as a concept, it's not a one unidirectional skill. It's not engineering or computer science for us to have a defined path for learning is what I feel. But yes, picking up skills from various sections, various fields and arenas is something that's required for someone who wants to pursue in terms of skills. But majorly awareness, like you mentioned, there are a lot of policies that are extremely beneficial even for the rural communities, especially the subsidies and the kind of loans that are provided for the young entrepreneurs. So the awareness of this kind and the kind of mentorship that you mentioned, the desire and the willingness to ask for help and not just be stuck. So some things like these especially will be much more beneficial rather than a traditional degree, and especially sustainability is what I feel.
Yeah, I love that you said path and why. That's something that this whole week I've been saying is finding your why. What's the why? Let's not forget why you're doing what you're doing. So I really appreciate that you said that.
I know it's a contrasting answer because we have someone pursuing a degree, but then, yeah, nothing to offend.
Yeah, I don't think I can add anything to that, what you said already. But I would say education is more important for me. Like, aware of these paths that they exist, and like forestry education I'm biased towards forestry in every answer that I'm saying. But so funny thing that when I did my master's in environment management, I wasn't aware that forestry can also be a subject. Like someone who's already pursuing a PhD in forestry, I did not know 6 years back that this exists as a subject. And someone who was already connected to the youth spaces and everything, and I mean that's something on my part, of course. But so how would it be for the marginalized communities or rural communities, the youth and the underprivileged youth who are there? So we need awareness and education, of course.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with both of you. And even though both of your answers are kind of different, they're very, what you said is very, very similar, the same, like very, very similar. So,
Yeah, so adding on to you mentioned how like education is really important. That's what I also believe too. Education and the passion, perseverance are really important in today's world. If you look at this from more like entrepreneurial and business view, in the 5 factors of production, knowledge and entrepreneurship are the key for making startups and actually creating a difference. Knowledge and entrepreneurship. So what I always say is one should have the knowledge. They should know what they're doing. They should know about the issue because if they want to make a difference and if they want to continue growing their organization, they have to know like what they're doing. For example, I recycle my battery. All of us, we know the issue of battery pollution and we know how to like recycle batteries and we know the dangers associated with throwing the batteries in the trash. So I think knowledge is also important. Another thing is passion. This is also directed to the viewers too. Passion is very, very important. If you have the passion, if you have perseverance, the determination and the vision of making a difference, you can make a difference. That's what I tell everybody. That's how I motivate like change makers because we need change makers in today's world. And that's how like if you have the passion and perseverance, you will be able to make a difference. Another thing is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, like I mentioned before, is also a really important trait, and you need to have a background in how to like grow as an effective leader, how to market properly, how to effectively grow an organization. These skills are also really important because it can actually set you up for success and making a difference. So to sum this entire thing up, entrepreneurship, knowledge, the passion and perseverance are very important traits in today's world in making a difference and energizing the growth towards the green economy.
yeah, for sure. That's a wonderful answer. And I think, like, I loved how you said, like entrepreneurship and knowledge. Yes, that can only get you so far. That can get you, you know, maybe into the right rooms with the right people. But you need to have that passion. You need to have that perseverance because it's not always going to be easy. You're not always. It's not going to be as simple as A, B, black and white. There's going to be times where it gets hard, it gets frustrating, and you're going to need to have that passion, like your whole time, and remember that why.
That's why I want like viewers to know like no matter what you do, there's always obstacles and challenges that come in the way. Like myself too. Like I also faced very big challenges in the beginning, and I even thought of giving up too in the beginning. But do not let that stop you. Even if challenges like come in the way, you can always get through them and you can always solve them. Everybody faces challenges. You're not alone.
Yes, I love that. I'm literally getting chills right now. Like this is like very inspiring. So thank you guys so much. And then, what is the single most impactful policy change governments could make to accelerate the transition to a sustainable economy?
If I could start, I would say carbon pricing, as in every step you take, think before the amount of carbon footprint you create, right? Today I'm stepping out for shopping. A small gesture for yourself to carry a small bag, the reusable bag, reduces a lot of trash. Yeah. There are these huge food supermarkets which could start pricing people, carbon pricing. And there are ways, as in not looking in terms of penalties, but for looking in terms of starting at home rather than moving ahead. So these kind of policies that starts from the top down approach, especially through the governments, and also the LEED importance of the LEED certifications for the buildings and any kind of corporate structures that we build in, that definitely takes us as a whole community along.
Yeah, if every single person, you know, just reused their water bottle, took their bags, they would not only save money, but also that would be such a huge difference.
Exactly. Until and unless there is a price and a cost associated with it, we never think of the harm and the other side of what is being caused out there.
Yeah. Hopefully one day it will not just be, oh, I'm using my reusable bag, reusable water bottle because I don't want to spend money, but it's like people are actually using that intention, like I actually want to make sure that my carbon footprint is as minimal as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. So
like a major policy change that I would like to see in especially in the mountainous communities, in the mountainous regions, is that the governments, they should work in synergy with the local communities, and the local people, they should feel ownership to the forests. Like right now, the major problem is they do not see it as their own, and if it's burning, they let it burn, because like earlier there were certain policies that which like they had certain ownerships, like these trees you could harvest, or maybe you have certain trees, and they would try to go ahead and protect the forests from any kind of damages that are being there. But now that's lacking. So that needs to be there. We need to work in synergy with each other.
Yeah, like care for your neighbor as well and care for that community as well.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, that's an extra tree, that's extra oxygen, that's extra beneficial to the planet for the future generation. We want as much green space as possible.
To add on to that, to avoid any confusion, so in US there are private-owned forests, but that's not the case in India. All the forests are owned by the governments, or they're public forests. So there's nothing as such as private forests. It's different.
I have a follow-up question, because here at like our state parks and things like that, we also have like a fee if you litter. Does that apply over there?
Yeah, in certain national parks or wildlife sanctuaries, they check your bags before entering. You have to leave all your plastic stuffs outside, and then you have to enter. But obviously, there are notorious people everywhere, so we need to change that mindset of like certainly of the ownership, because that's my earth. I have to protect it at all costs. Like, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
I like that they do those checkpoints to search the bags. There's only been one park that I've been to where they actually make you throw everything out, but they really don't. They put up the signs, but they don't check. And I feel like that'd be like such a great way to make sure that no one's bringing in trash.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
And ultimately, that will go into the routine.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah, that's perfect. So basically, like one more thing that like I wanted to add in terms of government is subsidies. So governments like the United States, they actually subsidize billions of dollars into fossil fuel industries. In my opinion, subsidies is motivation. Subsidies basically motivates companies to do even more and make an even bigger impact. And since we're transforming into a green economy and we have goals of actually making the world a better place, we cannot let subsidies like actually motivate fossil fuel companies and actually make them bigger. That's why what like I was thinking about is governments actually reducing the subsidies that they give to fossil fuels companies, and instead use that to invest in renewable energy technologies. If you look at countries like Singapore, some members of the European Union, they have been heavily invested in renewable technologies, and they're completely advanced. They're really advanced of the United States. Do you guys think the United States is a developed country? Just in general.
Can have different definition of developed, but
Yeah, I mean, we all might think that the US is developed, but we're not developed. The United States is not really developed, because if you look at countries like Singapore, Brunei, for example, if you look at those countries, they have advanced in technology and renewable energy, and they have taken strict precautions just to ensure that we can make our Earth a better place. In the United States, we're still subsidizing fossil fuel production, and we're kind of behind on the renewable energy sector. That's why I believe that if we can actually invest in these renewable energy sectors and reduce the subsidies that we're giving to fossil fuel companies, we can actually make an impact. And if we can invest, we can make the better technology, and hopefully we can make the Earth a better place. Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that we're behind on that for sure. Like we need to catch up. I'm like seeing all these like amazing different projects, and I'm like, whoa, why aren't we doing that here? Like that seems so beneficial. So I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, just to add on to that, one thing that I saw in Singapore, a really cool invention that I saw, is they put like a filter on the exhaust pipe, right? It captures the carbon, and then it's like carbon free. It's like eco-friendly like emission. I saw that on a video one time. It just blew my mind away. Like you can do that. It just blew my mind away. And I was like, well, how come the United States isn't doing this? If we're a big producer of carbon emissions every year, why are we not doing this? That's why I want to tell viewers today that the US and there's many other countries too, they need to just go back and reflect it. They have some things to work on.
Yeah. Thank you guys. So I'm going to open up the floor for any questions with the online participants. So go ahead and start dropping them in the chat, and I'll look to see what we can answer. And then if you guys, while I'm looking at the questions. If you guys want to add anything else to the conversation, I'm really enjoying this. So if there's anything else that you want to add while I'm just reading through the comments, let me know.
So maybe Nihal, could you share what inspired you to start this?
Yeah. So in order to answer that question, I would just like to talk about my journey, how it all began. So let's forward back to like when I was like 8 years old. So yeah, I was 8. I was really fascinated with science and environmental science. And then I used to watch like, there's a YouTube channel called Mr. Scientific. I used to watch him. He used to just post like videos on like astronomy, space science, environmental science. I used to watch his videos and I used to see like some fast forward videos like what would happen to the earth before 2100 if we continued our actions. 2100, I saw that climate change would be irreversible and it would be really hard to like reverse our actions. It just broke my heart after seeing that. I realized that we have to do something in order to help our environment and make it a better place. So that's why I decided, I want to start an organization. I want to start an organization to actually inspire people, to actually make that difference in society and motivate them. Because change does not begin with others. Change begins with ourselves. That's why I believe that if I start an organization, I can actually make a difference. Fast forward 2 more years. My dad, like he used to push me off because I was too young. I was like 9, 10 years old back then. He used to push me off and say, you're too young to start an initiative. Wait until you're like 15 years old, 16 years old, like my age currently, to start an organization. But then one day I saw a news article about a lithium-ion battery exploding in a waste disposal plant in California. It just broke my heart after seeing that. I used to be fond of drones back then, and it just seemed I just seemed really sad because I just thought to myself, how could my cool little toy be linked to such a dangerous problem like this? That's when I did more digging, learned that over 15 billion batteries are thrown away each year worldwide, with 3 billion in the United States alone. And only 1% of the people around the world know about recycling used batteries properly. So that's when I decided there's no backing down. I need to start and I need to teach people about this process. So that's how Recycle My Battery was born. And fast forward 6 years later, that's how it's going.
That's really inspiring for all the young people.
Yeah. Seriously.
One of my other motives too, like to add on, like since you guys were saying inspiration, one of my other motives, which I answered to the question, is to actually motivate the next generation of change makers, because the next generation is our generation. We're looking towards that generation in order to make things right. So that's why we're trying to motivate as many change makers as possible to actually make that impact. I always say that anything small that you do automatically considers you a change maker, even if it's stepping up and telling somebody who's about to throw plastic into the trash to not throw plastic into the trash. That automatically makes you a change maker. So I'm just motivating people and encouraging them to step in.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Exactly.
All ends up to passion. Follow that passion despite all the challenges.
Exactly.
So there's this question that says, how can youth collaborate globally to scale their impact? How can we all work together across the world to really make that big impact?
I think it ties back to the community, especially in my city in Bangalore. We as a small colony, we started segregating waste right from around 6 years ago to now. And we were the first block of people who started it back in Bangalore, and it soon spread from one block to the other. And one of the people within the community itself started the whole organization of segregating the waste, right? Starting just like how the batteries, starting small for the good, looking for like-minded people, because it's never a journey alone, right? More the merrier. So gathering people around and looking for like-minded souls, especially where we can not only work on gaining knowledge along the path, but also look for inspiration within one another. That will help, especially the young entrepreneurs, in starting off rather than waiting for someone to push us towards starting.
Yeah, to add on to that too, since you mentioned so the question was basically related to collaboration, right? Global collaboration. So I would say that passion and the ripple effect also basically plays that role. So the ripple effect is basically others take inspiration, others start, and then that can actually play a role in uniting us and actually global effort. So if I connect this to Recycle My Battery, the chain reaction actually played a huge role in actually expanding this to even more countries and getting more people to an organization. And that's how we were able to connect and start in many other countries too. I would say that the ripple effect and also the chain reaction also plays a role in global collaboration.
One thing, if I am allowed to add, there are initiatives and programs, especially for young people. My knowledge mostly lies within the Indian boundaries. There are train journeys, for example, the one that I was on, which I proudly wish to, promote it here. It's Jagrati Yatra. It's a 15-day train journey where 500 plus entrepreneurs and change makers are train traveling throughout the India, where they
That's
get to
cool.
meet, 500 like-minded people. I started off the journey with 500 strangers, and by the end of the 15th day, I had 500 people as a family that I could take home. Even today, one message that I drop in that group regarding any kind of information that I need with respect to any initiative, policy, or even a small situation where I am stuck in and I want to deal, I will have 30 to 40 people willing to respond and help me, right?
That's cool.
So look for opportunities and be active and out there. If we don't know, ask. Yeah, so this is one of the simple program and project that I wanted to put forward, but there are plenty of them out there.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Sign me up.
Definitely.
I'd love to be on that train.
definitely.
And then, so we're approaching to the end. So if you guys had any, last minute comments or anything else, we can add to that if you wanted to share anything else to the audience.
I think I already said it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for watching. And I think the biggest takeaway is recycle, work together. Don't forget your why. Don't forget that passion. And if you have access to knowledge, share that knowledge. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.